What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by Real Estate Cheat Code. And I have Laura Creech with us with the nth degree at Coldwell Banker Realty. And Laura, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to jump on the Tell Me More podcast to share your journey into this business.
That's great. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we go back, 2 years now, maybe is when we
Yeah,
first
it's been about
connected
2 years.
through Clubhouse, and
Yep.
been able to kind of just grow our relationship from there. And I know a little bit of your background and of your story. And part of the Tell Me More podcast is to just show agents that there's so many different ways to get into this business,
Right.
and there's so many different journeys, and there's so many different paths to success. And just to show people that there's not the one way, end all be all way of having success. So, Laura, let's start from the very beginning. We'll start with growing up. What was life like for you as a kid?
Yeah, it was actually great. I had a really good childhood. I grew up in a suburb just north of Boston, really close knit kind of community. I grew up with 3 other siblings, so it was a fun, crazy household. My parents were both working when we were younger, but they were in the restaurant business. So my mom was home with us during the day, and then sometimes they were out at night, alternating schedules. So I always had a parent home with us, but it was a good time. I was really close with my older sister in the, growing up beginning years. And then as the years went on, I became closer with my younger siblings too. So yeah, it was fun. So grew up just north of Boston.
How far outside of Boston?
It would take about 20 minutes to get into town without traffic. With traffic, about an hour or so, to go 20 miles. So it's a crapshoot depending on what time you go. But I was in and out of there frequently as a young adult. So yeah, it was a good upbringing. Yeah, one high school in our town, and probably about 700, I think, graduating students. So everybody kind of knew everybody, and it was fun. I came from a larger kind of, my father was one of 12 kids. So tons of cousins and aunts and uncles, and Christmas was always a blast. And so, yeah, it was a good, fun, solid, kind of normal childhood. But yeah.
Boston is on my list of places I have to visit. I have not made it there, at least as an adult. And I love history, so I feel like I would love that. I feel like I love that city.
Yeah, for sure. It's different growing up there because you don't really do the touristy things. But now as I go back and I bring my kids back and my husband back, we always try to hit up some of like the swan boats and like the duck tours and all the stuff that I wouldn't really do living there. So it's kind of like I'm going back and seeing it for the first time. So yeah, it's a really cool city. They've improved a lot on the walkability. So it's a lot more accessible than it used to be. I grew up in like the Big Dig era, which was, they blew up the whole highway system, which was a disaster. So yeah, commuting was not great. So one of the reasons I got into real estate.
I was gonna say you're getting used to that here in Columbus with all of the highway construction that's going on in all parts of the city at all times.
Yeah, for sure. The traffic around here is nothing compared to what I'm used to. So I laugh when hear people say like, I want to miss the traffic. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah. Laura, did you have any hobbies, interests, or like were you always an entrepreneur growing up? What kind of kept you busy?
I grew up, I played softball, but I also played the piano. So I think my mom was aiming for a well-rounded kid to send to college. I don't know. She kept saying you need to be well-rounded. So I did sports. I did piano. I didn't really get too active in other stuff at school, but yeah, that's what kind of kept me busy. I had really good friends growing up. I always had a group of friends that we were always running around together, and kind of like I said, tight knit, really close friends I still have today. So yeah, really socializing. Awesome. And a couple extracurriculars. But yeah.
Did you end up going to doing the college route, or did you enter the career field?
I did.
Or what was kind of your next step?
Yep. I looked at exactly one college during college tours. I chose that college, which was 20 miles away from my home, and I lived there all 4 years. So my parents were thrilled to send me away, like a half an hour away to school, and pay for it. So that was fun. But I didn't know what to study, so I kind of just went in with like a generalist approach. I studied English, and then you get to take like electives, right? So I guess the
Yeah.
way I started to think about all of those classes that they make you take for electives, and I think this is the way my mind always works: is I'm taking all these extra classes, I'm putting my time into it, effort, money. Why wouldn't I channel that into another major? So I ended up with a double major just because I didn't want to waste any classes. So I got a double major, and then I had taken Spanish all through high school. So I got a minor in Spanish just because I had, again, kept taking the class. I'm like, I'm not going to waste a single class. Everything
Yeah.
I take, I'm going to get credit for. So I finished college in 4 years. And after that, I kind of got started in the corporate world with a GE company. My cousin was working there, and it was a call center type of insurance company. So all the kids, or I should say, all of the employees that worked there were fresh out of college. We got put
Oh,
in a
wow.
bullpen. We all went through training together. We all went out to the bars afterwards and hung out together and learned all this boring insurance stuff in a fun, like, a good fun
Yeah.
setting. But it was a GE company, so I learned a lot about customer service, attention to detail, all of like the structured things that you would want to learn in a business career. I kind of
Yeah.
got my footing there right out of college. So, and I was there
What's
for about years.
how many years?
10.
Okay, awesome. What GE obviously is a great company and been
Yeah.
around forever. What's some of those things that maybe you took away from your time there that maybe that you've implemented into your real estate practice?
Oh, for sure. They were big on the can-do attitude. So it's definitely something that I've carried through, like with every single person I meet with. They'll ask for can I get this certain house with this certain square footage within this school district? I'm like, sure, we can do that. Like we can try and do that. I'm going to go out there and I'll show you what we can do. And we'll just keep going from there and see where we land. So definitely that was like their mantra: have a can do attitude and just get to work, get it done however way you can, find a way, so I think that's what I started off as, and it felt right. It felt like my own personal type of way to handle things. So it was a
Yeah.
good fit for a while.
How do you
Yeah.
I'm curious, how do you walk someone through that, right? Because obviously in our world now, and we'll dive into your real estate career here in a little bit, but
Hmm.
in our world sometimes there's unrealistic uh, thoughts or expectations from our clients, and if you have that can do attitude of yes,
Right.
we can definitely get out there and do that or find it. How do you really walk someone through and navigate that without them feeling that you um, did it kind of like a bait and
Wasting
switch,
time.
right? Yeah, or yeah,
Right.
or even a waste of time, right?
Right. Right. No, and I think that's important to say. It's a hefty goal. We'll see. What I'll do is I try and frame it like I'm going to put all of the options on the table. I'm going to show you whatever you want to see, and then we'll see if we can make it work. But first, lay it out, get a holistic view of what all you're looking for, and then kind of work your way through it. And I work through showing, not telling, because I think there's a lot of value in just providing people with the data and then letting them come up with their own conclusions. Because I think a lot of people don't like to be told what to do. I love to counsel. I love to educate. I love to show, not tell, really. So I've never thought of myself as a salesman in that way either. I'm more of like a service oriented type of person where I will help you hunt and gather every single option that there is out there. Maybe there's one you didn't think of. Maybe there's one you haven't, you know, come across yet, but I'm here to work alongside you and kind of see where we get. So most things kind of turn out naturally the way that they should have. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I think
so
that's
yeah.
one of the things too is as agents and advisors, sometimes presenting
Mhm.
those opportunities that maybe our clients aren't seeing that we know could potentially
Right.
work, and just putting it in front of them, right? Letting them make the decision, yes,
Right.
no, or but our
Exactly.
job is to put it in front of them and let them decide.
Exactly. Yep.
So
Yeah.
you're at GE, well, the call center company that,
Mhm.
and for 10
Yeah, I
years,
was in
kind of,
insurance. Yeah.
I was gonna say, lead me
Yep,
up
10 years
to
there.
your journey of becoming a real estate agent, that
Yes.
career journey.
Yep. Yep. So working my way through that career, I think we would take like upwards of 30 to 40 calls a day. We're young, so we're sitting there from, the schedules were 8-hour days, you get an hour lunch, and you're taking as many calls as you can. So I remember the day where I'm sitting there just like plugging through work, and it's like so repetitive, and it's like, I'm not living my days like this. This isn't a long-term plan. I don't see myself in an office. I never have. I love working. I love being productive. I love producing things, producing outcomes, all of that stuff. But also there's got to be a better way. So during that tenure at that company, I also had purchased a condo because, again, I'm not paying rent. I'm going to kill two birds with one stone. I'm gonna live there. I'll pay my mortgage and then I'll sell it, when it comes time to move. But I'm not wasting any money on rent. So straight out of, I think, college, maybe 3 or 4 years out, I purchased a condo in Salem, Massachusetts, which is super fun town to live in. The witches and all that good stuff. So I lived there for a couple of years, and I just loved the process. I always have been interested in houses, looking at them, looking in them, looking at the design of things, looking at the layouts, looking at the potential. I think I love looking at houses with potential more than I love looking at houses that are completely done. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the fun for me, is looking to see at what potential you could get. So yeah, as I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna get my license. I took a weekend warrior class at like the Holiday Inn on Route 1, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna get this done. So got our continuing ed. I think it was like a 48-hour training. And then yeah, they say study for 2 weeks, go take your test. And then that was it. So yeah, got my license. And then I think I got connected with my first brokerage through actually a friend that I met at that company. She was a great, great friend. She made me laugh every day. She's like, my sister's opening up a brokerage. You should go talk to her about working with her. That was a great, great decision. She was my first real estate like business mentor. She taught me a lot of things that I still use today. So yeah, that was kind of the door, like not sitting in the office all day, not wasting away. Like I'd see people at that job for 40 years, and I'm like, how in the world can you do the same thing every day for 40 years? Like I get it, it's admirable, but yeah, that
Yeah.
wasn't gonna be me.
So did you have your
Yeah,
license while working there?
yeah,
And did you do it part-time the full 10 years, or what did that transition period look like?
I did. Yep, yep. So I think I got my license in 2006, and then I didn't really go full time until 2020. So as soon as I got my license, so in 2006 was when the market crashed in our part of the country. I think we were one of the first ones to hit that whole like bubble bursting. So right
Yeah.
out of the gate, I had plenty of time to study, plenty of time to learn about real estate. I got my short sales certification. I helped a lot of friends, unfortunately, sell through short sales, foreclosures, um, bank owned properties. So back then, like I literally was on my flip phone trying to text under the table to get deals done while I'm at like a business meeting. Now, like it's so easy to work mobily that you could really do it anywhere,
Yeah.
which is a blessing and a curse. But back then, like I literally would have to hide and like try and make phone calls, and like it was a different time for sure. But yes, I did. Most of my clients were friends, family, people that I worked with. So I did that for, yeah, from 2006. So 10 years I worked side by side with real estate and insurance. And I figured it kind of went hand in hand. I was in property and casualty. So another part of my job was looking at like home inspections, underwriting homes, looking at all the mechanics, and kind of making a decision as to whether or not they could be insured. But yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah,
When did
dual career.
yeah, I mean, going through that, right? Like I always tell people, and you know this, and obviously you experienced it. You came from another career, and
Mhm.
there's a balance, right? And a lot of times when you're working in another career and doing real estate, and I hate to use the word part-time because there
I
are
know.
people that don't put in 10-hour days but still do a lot of business and still have another career. But
Right.
when you're doing both at the same time,
Mhm.
uh what was going through what was some of that thought process, because a lot of people struggle with it, and I don't think people realize how much work it actually
I
is
know.
to do both at the
Yeah.
same time,
Oh,
right?
for sure. Yeah. I honestly, it was because I worked full time, that's where my business came from.
Mm,
So for me, the whole marketing of myself, I mean, I put ads in the newspaper once a week. Like that was my marketing piece.
yeah,
And I would go to my broker all the time and be like, am I slacking on my sales goals? And she's like, your goal is what your goal is. Tell me you want to sell 5 houses a year, sell 5 houses a year. If you're only selling three, if you need help in selling five, come, we'll talk about some strategies. But she's like, I have had lots of people who I've worked with. They were school teachers or um, just other types of full-time employees, but that's where they had their client base. That's where they were trusted. That's where they were liked and known. And that's where, they had this extra skill set, the extra time, the hours, the passion for the selling of houses. So she, she didn't care about, how if I sold one house or 5 houses. She's like, as long as you're doing what you want to be doing, it's fine with me. Bring what you want to the
yeah,
table. And I think that's what a lot of people struggle with at first. Either they have an unrealistic sales goal in mind, or they have another person that they're looking up to with a completely different lifestyle, and they're saying, why aren't I producing like that person? Well, it's like,
yeah,
well, if you're producing the way your lifestyle is expecting you or allowing you to, like, isn't that you're fulfilling your goal? So it's
yeah,
really been, I think, interesting when I start. So I after that 10 years in that's when I was in Massachusetts. Then I took a break where I didn't work at all. So I took 4 years off. I had two kids, and that was always the plan too. It was like, I'm going to do real estate, and then when I have kids, I'll have this career under my belt, and then I'll have the flexibility to be home with them and run around wherever I need to and take as much work on as I can, or want to. So that's when I came to Ohio and restarted my career. I was like, well, where am I going to get my clients now? Like library, like play groups. I'm like, I don't know,
well,
but
I wanted to ask you because I wanted to go back to the part-time, doing real estate
yeah,
in your other career, because I think a lot of people will struggle with that, and I see it because when you're working in another career and doing real estate, a lot of times people only see you as the person in this one
right,
career and not as a real estate agent.
right.
And I'm talking to the people that are doing this right now, and
Mhm.
when you're trying to make that switch, you really need to make the switch in your sphere of influence, or in your
Yeah.
the people around you at your other job, at your other career, to see
Hmm.
them as a real estate agent first. And that's always a challenge,
Right.
right? And a lot of times it's because, from my opinion,
It
and
is.
I've never gone through that myself personally, but watching it
Mhm.
is because a lot of people in that scenario aren't confident in knowing real estate, right? They're not talking
Right.
it every single day. They're not doing real estate
Right.
every single day. And they're not. So for you, what was it that allowed you to kind of tap into the people that already, knew you, liked you, and saw you as a friend? Now it was just,
Yeah.
I got to get them to trust me as their agent, right? So
Right.
was
Right.
there any strategy involved with that? How did you go about that?
Yeah, I think the strategy then is the same one as I'm using now, is what I'm realizing as you're asking me this. I think it's just doing the activities, sharing the experiences, sharing the outcomes, the journeys that you've just taken with these people who, didn't think they had a chance at a house. I think it's just bringing it up in conversation. Oh, like, how are you today? Oh, I'm crazy busy. Like, oh, I just helped this client. It's been taking me 4 years. We finally got them in contract. Or like, I think it's just revealing or kind of going through and just reliving the excitement, the turmoil, all of that stuff that goes into um, home ownership or getting to home ownership. the more you talk about it, I feel like the more that they'll see you as the expert. I mean, so you have
Yeah.
to actually do it. You've got to experience it. So when I first started to restart my career here, I didn't have any pool to draw from. I mean, I did. My husband's family is from this area, but they saw me as a stay-at-home mom. They met me at the most not boring, but like the most business like moments of my life. So for me to try and tap into them and be like, hey, I'm a realtor again, it was like, I think I'm not going to go that route. So I hooked up with somebody and I started doing transaction management because I needed that fuel to kind of help me with these conversations. So I think just talking about it, showing yourself as being along for the ride, the struggles, the bumps in the road, all that stuff that goes into it, and then the outcome, if it's a good one, how you overcame certain things. I think naturally it just comes up for me in conversation. It did then, and it still does now. So I think that's kind of how I transitioned a little bit from, just a friend or a casual realtor or whatever into, like, yeah, I want to work with you too. Like, oh, wow, you just made that happen. Like, yeah, let's go. I've been thinking about buying a house too. It's like, yeah, we can work at it. We'll get it done. So
I want to dive into that here in a second. But I also want to say that is the number one thing I always tell people getting into the real estate business is to be a
do it.
realtor.
Yes,
Do
do the
activities,
things. Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Because whether it's you volunteering to put a lockbox on a door for an agent in your office,
Yep.
or to do a showing, or to drop a
Yeah.
sign, or
Yep.
something as simple as the paperwork or collecting an earnest
Right.
money check or whatever,
Yeah.
you are being a realtor. And what that does is it keeps it top of mind, right? To
Right.
where you
Right.
can pick up on all of the side conversations that you may hear that
Mm-hmm.
before maybe you missed out. And I think it's
Yeah.
just so important. And it goes back to what we were just talking about a little bit before. It's a lot of work, even if you're only putting in 4 hours a day to be a
Right.
realtor, have another career.
Right. Right. For sure. It
It's
is.
a lot
It
of
is.
work.
Yeah. And like you said, you got to do the things, like you've got to do them so that you can bring it up in conversation. Otherwise, I mean, you're talking about somebody else's experiences. They're not going to think of you as, you know, the actual expert realtor, so.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to talk about your transition here to Ohio, because I also think that can be very impactful for our viewers and listeners, because a lot of times people just don't know where to start,
Yeah,
right?
for
Like
sure.
everyone, asks me like, John, how'd you get your business and how'd you get your database? For me, it was leads, right? But I wasn't from
Yeah.
Columbus. I was 22 when
Yeah.
I got into the business. So the people I knew weren't buying. What would you say? Obviously, I know you did transaction coordination and
Mhm.
just to kind of get things rolling again. But
Yeah.
how was there any real strategy involved for you, or thought process, or thinking of, this is okay, new city. I know a
Yeah.
handful of people,
Right.
right? But
Right.
really, you're starting your business from the ground up.
Yes.
Can you just share a little bit of maybe strategy or thought
Yeah.
process for those that are maybe stuck and not sure where to start?
Yeah, for sure. Number one, I joined the clubhouse and I tuned in almost every day. I got kind of a pulse on what the market was doing. I had an idea, obviously, but the more you hear about experiences, when people ask you, how's the market? Great. In this part of town, it's doing this. In this part of town, it's doing that. And I think so. Step one, I surrounded myself with, or what I, tried to do is surround myself with a community that was actually really engaged in just encompassed with that the
Yeah.
market. So one, I try to learn. I try and absorb. I learn. I have my good friend Denisa, who she introduced me to Clubhouse. She also brought me out to a couple different like networking events, just to again get yourself surrounded by like-minded people who are all still interested in in working hard and in figuring out what to do with their business. So that was
Yeah.
the one thing. I got the ideas, and then I took a couple of those ideas from there, like new construction. So all of 2022, I took one. They say like how many spinning plates, right? So every coach I go to, get your 3 spinning plates. I'm like, all right, I'm home all day with my kids. I'm picking one spinning plate. I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. Whatever happens, happens. So I went the new construction route. I met up at Realtor Care Day. So I'm volunteering my time, putting myself around people. I end up chatting, planting flowers with a new build rep from DR Horton. I chat with them about business. Why don't you come in? Let's talk. I end up at that same time being introduced to a company that runs ads, sponsored ads. So I'm like, whatever. It's an investment, but I'll put money into it because I had tried, farming, and I had tried I hate to say it, like the obituary, like like the obituaries to see if they had estates, like all of those lists that we all have access to. I tried all those, but honestly, I got so impatient. I'm like, you know what? That's like a slow burn. I want like action now. I have the time, I have the energy. Like let's get into some good business. So I contracted with this company. They do sponsored Facebook ads, and they had a campaign that they ran, and that got me a lot of busy work, like a lot. I think for the first client I got within a month or two, I closed her miraculously. Like within a month of meeting her, it was in the dead of winter. Like, all right, first closing in the books 1 month after I hired this company. I'm like, great. The second closing, I think, was a couple months later. I literally wrote this guy 27 offers. We wrote 27 offers to get him his house. I can write that contract frontwards and backwards because of him. So those leads were tough.
Yeah.
They were first-time home buyers geared to that, but it ran me ragged. Like I ran all over Columbus. There was no place that was too far or too far south or west, whatever. I was all over the place. Also gaining knowledge on areas and kind of doing my own little neighborhood market research.
Yeah.
So that was that was 20. So I got my license again when COVID hit 2020. That was 2021. So after that year was over, I think I had 5 closings. I'm like, great. Like, that's what I'm used to, 5 closings. I'm like, but I think I can do better. So that's when I did the Realtor Care Day. I linked up with a DR Horton rep. And I was like, I think I'm going to do this lead thing, but it's super busy. I don't know. She's like, I'll take your calls for you. She's like, you give me first crack at these leads. I'll take your call. I'll qualify them, and then I'll pass them back to you with the first interview completely done. So I'm like, great. So then that year I focused just on new construction builds. So advertising those was great. I got, those meetings are nice because you've got another salesperson there with you that knows everything about the house. They're the experts. And then 1 or 2 meetings, and then they're basically, if it's an inventory home, they're closed. And then on the flip side of that, a lot of them had houses to sell. So I'd get both sides of it.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of what I focused on last year. It was a great year. It was busier than I think I've ever been. But really it's just connecting. I really thought about what the market was lacking, and which was inventory. And like the builders have all this inventory. So it's like, okay, who's not putting 2 and 2 together here? Like, so I tried to see what the market was needing and target to that. So that was my one spinning plate, but I had help, I kind of looked at what I wanted. I saw who could help support that and kind of went for it. So that's what I did. I looked, I researched, I worked my tail off. I connected with people that could help. So that was last year. This year has been nothing but referrals. Like I've done maybe 1 or 2 new builds, maybe 3, all referrals. So that's kind of like, I feel like the snowball effect. The more I've talked to people about what I'm doing, the more it just attracts more clients. So I feel like I'm in a good group of now personal referrals, a little bit of new builds splashed in there. No idea what next year looks like, but
that's going to be my next question. What's
no idea.
What's something that you're looking to accomplish in the next 12 months?
I don't know, a little bit of balance, I think. I think this year I had all during vacation time, it's school vacation, it's my own travel time. I think I had 5 deals going on at the same time while I was on vacation. So I'm like, okay, I think I need a little bit more balance. So yeah, that's what I'm striving for. A few more support peers underneath the business. And yeah, just again, every year I think it's going to be something, but at the end of the year, when I look back, I'm like, that's nothing what I thought. was going to happen this year. So on the one hand, I am working hard and I'm working on the right things, I think. And then I just trust that they're going to come to fruition. I don't know.
No, that's
But
awesome.
yes, I have no idea what's happening next year. It's already time to do business planning. I'm like, seriously?
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
I'm still recovering from the summer. But yeah.
Laura, what's something that you're looking to accomplish in 5 years?
I think I want to have a really good like video marketing plan. I know that's the part of my business that is lacking. I know I'm only touching a fraction of what I could be touching just with my verbal communications, like with neighbors or friends or school friends now. So I really want to get comfortable with the most uncomfortable thing that I encounter in my business, which is being on camera. So that's a really long-term goal, is to really put some good, solid plans, like really put them into action. It's been on my goal list for the last 3 years. So it's still something I'm striving towards. But every year I say, well, I didn't need it this year, so I'll just put it off. Well, I hit my goal, so I'm just going to avoid it again. So I do think it's needed.
Yeah, hey, you're doing awesome. You're doing awesome. Right?
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah.
What's video, right? It's one of those things that do we all need to be great at it and that be the thing that drives our business? I don't believe so, but I believe we all need to do it, right? Like it needs to be a component of, it's like selling real estate. You can't just email, you have to call, right? You have to text, right?
So you have to communicate always. Yeah.
I'm curious, with your thoughts around that, what do you think that you need to be doing or adding to the business in order to bring video in to how you're running things?
Yeah, so I'm already kind of putting the feelers out. So my husband's cousin, she is an awesome news broadcast journalist, I believe, for Spectrum One. So this summer I've kind of been picking her brain with like, what's your schedule like? Like, you do your own lighting? Like, do you have your own? She's like, yeah, you need a tripod, you need all this stuff. I'm like, I need you. So Taylor, if you're listening, I need you. But I do need like a professional, I feel, professional help, I guess. So I think that's what I need to start building, is how do I get the right people in place? Because I'm sure not holding the camera up to my, no selfies, no videoing, none of that. So yeah. Yep.
Laura,
so that's what I think I need, people.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just that, right? It's someone to hold, even someone simply to just hold you accountable to it. Hey, did you shoot that video today? Right.
Right.
Like for me, I know last year, I think it was last year, I did 30 days of Instagram Live, and it wasn't to be, I never did live, I still don't really do lives at all, but it was one of those things. First time was painful and nerve-wracking, and because you don't know, all of the functions, and you're worried about people judging you and all. But just doing that activity, right, with no expectations of results and things like that. Now, video is fairly easy for me to do and to jump on to do. But that's awesome. You'll get it. You'll definitely be adding.
I'm trying to teach my daughter, like, the more you repeat, the more you practice, the more you do, the easier it gets. So I gotta take my own advice. For sure.
Yeah. Laura, what's a legacy goal for you? What's something that you're looking to hit when you're no longer here?
Yeah, I have actually just started kind of not the wealth building journey, I guess, but like the whole financial planning, the whole, like, I guess, legacy, the name, I guess, through your children, you hope to leave, behind good karma in the world. And so I think what I've recently discovered is that I need to get kind of all of my generational stuff in order. So I've been working on that with the financial advisor, just trying to get my kids set up for success, whatever path they choose. I don't want it to be dictated by a need. I mean, sure, a need to learn or grow, stuff like that. That's fine. But I don't want them to be pressured into doing something just because they need a paycheck. So I think that's my legacy, is just trying to make sure that I can change this next generation in a way that, is beneficial, I guess, if that makes
Love it.
sense. Leave behind good little humans in the world. I don't know.
I love it.
Yeah, that's it.
Last question for you, and
Sure.
thanks again for jumping on here and
Sure.
sharing your journey. Um, what's one piece of advice that maybe you wish you had, when you got into the business, or maybe that you received, or maybe just
Mhm.
one that you pass on, right? If an agent asks you, hey, what's one thing that I really need to be doing or focusing on in order to have success in the business?
Yep.
What is that for you?
So a really good thing that my first broker told me is like, there's no need to get nasty, competitive. There is enough and there will be enough business for everybody all of the time. Just go out and get yours, because you don't need to compete. You need to collaborate. You don't need to get ahead over somebody. It's just whenever you can, there's enough for everybody. So give more than you receive. Give your time, give your energy, go out there and do the thing, because in the end, you're benefiting from that experience, that growth, all of that material that now you've been involved in, that you can use to propel your own self concept, that you're going to portray into the world. So I think that's it. Just there's enough for everybody. Go out and do it. Just go for it. Don't be
I love
afraid.
it. I love it. Those that are watching, Laura's
Mhm.
phone number is down below. If you are someone that's thinking about buying, selling, investing here in Central Ohio, make sure you reach out to her. If you're another agent and you just connected with her journey and her story, and just how she thinks through business and her real estate business, reach out to her. Laura, for those that are listening in,
Mhm.
what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Sure, you can call my cell phone below. You can also find me on Facebook. It's under Laura Ryan Creech. I have a business page and I also have my own Facebook page, but you can connect anyway through Facebook, or my web address is Laura Loves Home Girls, Laura Loves Home Goals.com. So yes, that's how you get me.
I love it. Thanks so much.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
sharing your story with us. And
Thanks
if
for
I
having
can
me.
be of any help to you,
You
reach
have
out to me.
already been, so I appreciate that. I do. So
I'm here to
thanks for
help. So
having
thanks
me.
so much, and
All right.
we'll talk again here soon.
Sounds good. Take care. Thanks. Bye.